Alright, let's get this one started. We are going to be doing inverse trigonometric functions. Today you will use the inverse trigonometric functions to find angle measures of a triangle. And this will allow you to solve a triangle. Anyways, whatever that may have been. Alright, so what are we doing here? Okay, so here is the basic thing here. Notice that all these, what's really important here is that they're making note that you're going to be finding acute angles. Okay, so we'll learn later about like what would happen if this was not a right triangle and so on and so forth. But your answers are going to be acute. Okay, so you're finding the other angles of a triangle. So, anyways, inverse sine. Notice here that was the symbol. You can easily find that on your calculators, and that will help you get an angle measure. So, how does this work? Well, let's look at an example. Shall we? We shall. Okay, so keep in mind here that if you take tangent of 30 degrees, you're going to get like 0.58. Well, if you find on your calculator, there's an inverse function. That's that little -1 to the -1 power is an inverse. That stands for inverse. And you put in the 0.58, you get an answer that would be, say, 30 degrees. So the -1s help us get the angle measure. All right? So if I have something like this, and I look at A. A here is the opposite over the hypotenuse, because 27 is the hypotenuse, which means I'm using sine. Sine of A would have been equal to 18 over 27. That's what you did in a previous assignment. Well, if I want to find that angle measure, what is A? Then I take the inverse sine of those numbers. So sine inverse 18 divided by 27 would give me approximately 41.8 degrees. Okay, and guess what? If you had 41.8 degrees, would you be able to help find B? Well, yeah, because you can say add that to the 90 and then subtract from 180. Because remember, all triangles add up to 180. And I'm sure y'all remember that, right? So kind of keep that in mind. It would be fairly easy to find that second angle. Here's another example. Okay, so here, this one, notice here, here's my hypotenuse. I have 6 is opposite of the A, so I'm pretty much going to work from A, but pay attention to what angle I tell you to work from, okay? So I'm working for 6 is the opposite, and that means 20 is the adjacent, so I have opposite and adjacent, okay? So that means I'm dealing with tangent. Tangent of A is equal to 6 over 20, so that means tangent inverse will give me the angle measure. And you type that in your calculator, and you get approximately 16.7 degrees. If that's 16.7, you can add that to 90, then subtract by 180, and you would get that B is 73.3 degrees. Easy peasy, right? I know. Sir, this is good. I can understand this. It's not that hard, and I can use a calculator. All right. Here's another one. We got this time it's adjacent over the hypotenuse. Notice that A, because if you look here, you draw the arrow, this side is opposite, right here, that's the opposite. We're not dealing with the opposite, we're dealing with an adjacent and a hypotenuse. So that means I'm dealing with cosine. So the hardest part to me on this is just making sure you know which one you're using. And then we would say cosine inverse 3 over 15, press enter, and you would get the angle measure of 78.5 degrees. Okay, again, not that hard. Alright, so for my last example, I want to solve a right triangle. Solve the right triangle. What does that mean? That means they want you to find all the angles and all the sides. Okay? So, yeah, we're going to do something like that on a test and quiz and stuff. Okay, so here we go. Let's deal with x. Okay, so x is going to be tangent of x. Let's see if you can remember why. Y'all see if y'all can tell me. If not, then make sure you ask in class. Alright, so tangent of x is 9 over 5, so that means x is equal to tangent inverse. So the angle of x, remember, this is dealing with an angle. Measurement of that angle. Okay, so the measurement of angle x is equal to tangent inverse of 9 over 5, which means that's equal to 60.9 degrees. If that's the case, I can add that to 90 and subtract by 180 to get y is 29.1. And then, how do I find xy? Well, there's a lot of different ways you could find xy. Either using the angle measures and some type of, say, trigonometry, or worst comes to worst, you got two sides. Work with the Pythagorean theorem. Either way, you would get an answer of about 10.3. Anyways, really, and that's it. I mean, I know this looks like it should be hard, but it shouldn't be. So there you go. That's it for today. If y'all have any questions, feel free to ask. But thank you so much for your time, and y'all have a good day.